Hello and welcome to my review for Roguebook, a roguelike deck builder from the same developers as Faera. I just recently finished Epilogue 15 after 65 hours of gameplay, which is arguably the end of the game, so I thought this would be a great time to share my thoughts and explain some of the core features to Roguebook. I'll go more in depth in just a minute, but to briefly put it, I've really enjoyed this game. Strategy is everywhere, even in the way you explore the map. There's tons of choices and customization it gives the player in how you advance through the game. The card combos make you feel good and powerful, and there were enough cards to make most of my runs unique and keep my interest for many hours. A small section near the middle of my playthroughs got a little repetitive, but it picked up again once I unlocked the next difficulty tier. And lastly, the art is phenomenal. Most of the creatures and characters come from the game of Faera, which if you don't know and want to find out more, check out the link in the top right corner of this video. But Faera has a 2D art style, whereas Roguebook has 3D models that move about and just look fantastic. Aesthetics like this might not be important to everyone, but they certainly are to me, and I have a huge respect for the amount of effort that went into the artwork here. If you like roguelike deck builders or other card games in general, I think you'd love this game. I was honestly surprised at how immersed I got into this, and for how long it captured my attention. There's not much of a story, apart from some very small narratives you run into here or there. The entirety of this game is centered around deck building and some other smaller mechanics. But now let's talk about the gameplay, and minor spoilers ahead, I will be showing footage of some boss battles and unlockable characters, but I'll keep the final bosses off screen. I would say there are 3 main mechanics to the game: deck building, exploration, and combat. If you're unfamiliar with roguelike deck builders, the genre is all about picking from random pools of cards throughout your run and adding them to your deck. If you die at any point, you lose all progress towards that deck and have to start a new run from the very beginning. These games typically reward players who build smaller and more consistent decks, but Roguebook has implemented a unique feature to try and combat this called the talent tier. When you reach certain thresholds of cards in your deck, you get to pick from 3 choices of new abilities or perks to improve your run. From my experience, this has been a really great tool to allow you to put more of your favorite cards in your deck, and it gives more flexibility for experimentation during your runs as well. Smaller decks are generally still better if you're looking for the most optimal type of deck, but this feature definitely helps those who just want to have fun with a bunch of cards, and it can have a significant weight sometimes in a decision where you may want to throw an extra card in your deck solely for the extra talent tier. Another unique part to deck building in this game is gems. During your run, you can find or purchase gems that will add special effects or bonuses to the card you equip it to. These help to keep your deck small should you choose that route, and gives another little way to customize your deck. Exploration is a really cool mechanic in this game. The idea behind it is that you've been trapped inside this book, hence the name, and you're trying to escape. And to do so, you've got these magical paintbrushes and inks to reveal sections of the Roguebook. There are 3 chapters to a run, and a boss to fight at the end of each. Once you're satisfied in exploring what you can, you won't be able to reveal every tile, of course, so you'll have to be strategic in how you use your brushes. And while this idea became pretty trivial near the end of my playthroughs, I had a lot of fun with it in the beginning, strategizing how to reveal the most amount of tiles possible. This overworld is where you're going to be able to access the battles, the shops, card drafts, and some other goodies like treasures, which will apply bonuses to your run or your battles. Another cool thing you can find are the narratives, which are randomly hidden on some of the maps. These give you a very brief story or adventure you embark on, and then a decision you have to make that often grants you a unique treasure or gem. Some you will have to fight for, so be prepared. Combat involves using 2 characters in combination. You'll start the game with only Shara and Sirocco, but can unlock the others, currently 4 characters in total, as you play through your various runs. Each character will have some kind of unique ability or trait to them, and they'll have their own separate pool of cards that they can play as well. There's a lot of cards that play around with this pairing of characters, such as swapping their positions or gaining bonuses if you play one card from each character in succession. Position is really important because in most cases, only the leading hero can be attacked. So you can use this to strategize who you want to take the damage that turn. The enemies will always show their intention for each turn, whether they're going to attack, block, buff, or debuff, so this gives you a lot of control and predictability over the battle. Each enemy also has their own specific sequence of actions that they repeat over and over, and this is the exact same every run for that specific enemy, which was pretty fun at first to figure out what each enemy was going to do and then strategize what the future of my battle would look like. But it did get a bit repetitive after a while, and I wouldn't be opposed to this being a bit more randomized. On top of your heroes, you can also find and add ally cards to your deck. Some will fight alongside you, and some will just sit there giving you bonuses during the battle. These are a cool little mechanic that lets you play a bit more dynamically, and playing an ally removes it from your draw cycle for the battle, so that can even help with deck thinning. If one of your heroes dies, you'll get 2 wound cards put into your deck, which are unplayable and stay there permanently until you beat the chapter boss. All of that character's cards will also be converted into revival song cards, and if you play 5 revival songs in that battle, your hero will come back to life with a small portion of their health. This system makes it very forgiving if you happen to draw poorly one turn and can't swap your heroes, but it's not too strong that it'll save you every time because it is a lot tougher with only one hero remaining. The difficulty of this game will greatly vary depending on your experience in card games. I have a huge background in competitive card games, and while I was challenged in quite a few places in this game and constantly had to think, I flew by most of it without too much worry. However, I have heard from many others through Discord or Twitch who say that they were struggling with it a lot, so it's entirely dependent on your background. But to help make it a little easier, there is a permanent progression system you can work towards by finding lore pages on the map and spending those on some upgrades in between runs. These upgrades can be things like an increase in max health to your heroes, or increasing the chances to finding rarer cards. Each character also has a level associated with them that you can level up after completing runs, and after each level, you'll unlock a new card for that character. As for replayability, there are 15 epilogues to complete after beating the first 3 chapters of the game. Each epilogue will have you run through the exact same 3 chapters again, but with an added challenge. And this doesn't seem like much, but the challenges are pretty unique and force you to adapt a slightly different strategy each time. I really like the system they set up for this also. You have 3 columns of challenges to unlock, and you can pick up to 1 of them from each column. Once you complete a challenge, you'll unlock the next tier in that column. And to advance in epilogue level, you'll have to pick a number of challenges that equal your current epilogue level. So for example, on epilogue 2, you'll either have to pick a tier 2 challenge or 2 tier 1 challenges. This level of customization and how we want to progress through the game is really awesome to see, and this simple feature surprisingly kept my interest for a long while. I'd often be planning out future runs and what challenge combinations I wanted to try out with different characters. It did start to get a little repetitive around epilogue 8 or 9, since you do have to repeat a lot of the challenges to get to epilogue 15, but as soon as I turned on the tier 5 heroism challenge that gives the bosses unique and empowered traits, I was having fun again trying to figure out new strategies to beat those unique bosses. This is an area I would love to see improved upon in the future though. If we had more options to choose from, it might make the grind to 15 a little more enjoyable. But epilogue 15 is where I'd say the replayability comes to a stop. By that point, you'll most likely have seen and experimented with most of the cards. You'll definitely have seen all of the enemies by that point. Maybe you want to finish off some of the lore page things. But as I mentioned, it took me 65 hours of gameplay to get to that point, and I'm super satisfied with that. That's more time than I spend on most games, and I did it in just over 2 weeks. So fair warning, this game can get addictive. The devs do also have plans to make future content for the game, so keep that in mind as well. But that's all that I've got for you today, so thanks so much for watching, and if you want to check out more of my Roguebook content, such as my Let's Play, you can click the links on screen. I'll also post a link to my introductory guide to Faera if you want to check out that game that inspired Roguebook. Most of the content you'll find on my channel will be Faera related, but I will probably be back with more Roguebook when another significant update is added.